Welcome back, everybody, to another weekly recap of what happened in the stock market. My name is Gov Blacksburg, aka Wolf Financial, and I'm here with Evan from @StockMKT News on Twitter. We're going to run through a little bit about what happened in the stock market, but most of all, we're going to focus on the major market-moving news stories that interested us and people around the world to the point where companies moved on that. So let's get right into it. We have a heat map first up top here, as you can see. Evan, anything stand out to you from the heat map this week other than the giant downswing here on Tesla?
Yeah, the big red squares really do stand out the most. Tesla, Microsoft. But if I'm going to focus on one, I feel like United Health underperforming most of those stocks. Like, I feel like that's not a stock that I see moving 7.5% in a week, especially where something like Tesla is down 7.2%. So that Tesla one does grab the eye, but United Health, I think, is a little bit weirder. Is there anything maybe on the upside here? Any of those green squares that uh, stand out to you, Wolf?
Yeah, we all know that we have our dividend lovers and our value lovers on Twitter, and they certainly got a boost this first week. I would say the biggest name that stood out to me was Costco. Costco was already up 5.7%. I mean, this is the type of stock that you look for a 10% move all year, and we already got a 5.7% move in the first week. And then, of course, Disney. Got to take a look at Disney. That's a name that we have been talking about. Disney and Netflix. I mean, all streaming just got a massive boost to start the year out. Disney coming in pretty hot. They had some good pieces of news. And we had people even going into the end of last year that were looking at Disney as a play for this year. So those are the two that are standing out to me. But then the one last one, just because we talked about it on a space the other week, was AVGO Broadcom. We did talk about that. We talked about the fundamentals really lining up for them this year. So keeping an eye on them as well as the rest of that industry.
Awesome. Yeah, a lot of good performance this week. Some not so good, but yeah, overall a decent week to start off the year. I think we're good to scroll down a little bit, looking at the best and worst performers from the week. At the best performers, you're seeing a lot of China names at the top. Then a little bit lower on, and I'm seeing a name like Boeing and Carnival and other good stuff like that. The worst performers, scrolling down a little bit, some popular names in the online community. We got Snowflake, Datadog, Rivian, Cloudflare, Enphase. So I'm sure a couple of our Twitter friends didn't have such a great week with these names on the worst performers list. But it's just the first week of the year, so a long way ahead. I'm also looking at Mobileye. They said a lot of interesting stuff at CES this week, so that's one that I'll be definitely watching for the future. But I think that's pretty good coverage there. I'd love to move down to the headlines now.
Yeah, and a lot of these worst performing ones continue to set new 52-week lows, if not
Yeah.
all-time lows as well. And some of them are even going out of business. I believe, I don't think that they're on here, but there were some bankruptcies that were discussed this week as well. Maybe Party
Wait,
City.
Palo City.
It's
No,
Paylocity, not Party City. I think Party City is the one
oops.
that went out. Yes, very
It
close.
is. It is. And that's
Correct.
actually in here, I believe. But yeah, looking at the headlines, I forgot when I was going through this. But stock market was closed on Monday this week, so we didn't have too many headlines. There's a lot of Tesla here. It was pretty much the only thing that was going. The biggest news was Tesla deliveries for Q4. They came in below expectations. It came in at 405,000 vehicles delivered, below expectations of 418,000. It did bring their total for the year in at 1.31 million, up about 40% year over year. And I really like this graphic kind of showing how they have done each year over the last couple of years. So that is pretty interesting for me. Are there any headlines here on this Monday that really stand out to you, Wolf?
Yeah, I think you hit on the main one. The real thing that happened here is Tesla has hung its hat on this 50% delivery growth, and they only were able to achieve around 40%. We say only, it's still a great number, of course, but seeing that they went from 87% to 40% is likely what caused the drawdown in the stock, although it clearly wasn't so material because we saw Tesla go from down 7% on the day actually to green on the day, although it did end up finishing down on the week. So I think that that's the major story from Monday, but we can roll right into the active part of the week. And as you could see, first week in the trading market of the year, we were loaded coming into Tuesday. What's the top story of Tuesday to you?
Yeah, for me, the biggest story on here is right at the top. It happened after the close, I believe, on Tuesday, but Microsoft is preparing to launch a version of its Bing search engine that uses the artificial intelligence behind ChatGPT. ChatGPT has become very popular. OpenAI, you'll see later in this piece, is now going to be worth $28 billion. At least that's what they're trying to raise money at. But we'll see. Maybe Bing can finally actually like put up a good challenge against Google. I was shocked to see that the Microsoft search segment actually brought in $8 billion of revenue last year. Um, that was not something I thought would have been possible at all, but they did it. So maybe there is some real competition coming for Google. Microsoft did say that they are still kind of in. Well, Microsoft didn't say this. The reports were saying that Microsoft said this, that they're still kind of working on it. They're in a test phase, and it might launch initially to a small group of users, and that might be coming in the next 2 to 3 months or so. So maybe Google has something coming up their sleeve, but AI is coming to search engine, and I think it's coming in a big way. Is there anything on here that stands out to you?
Yeah, well, in regards to that, Microsoft and Bing, I just find it so funny still that the number one search term on Bing is Google. And I believe Google Chrome is somewhere there in the top 10 as well. So we'll see how that continues to roll through. There's a lot of really good stuff around different companies here that I think are important and move the market. There's one story on here that did not move the market, but was still pretty interesting to look at. And that was this Sam Bankman Fried trial. Sam Bankman Fried has apologized so many times that it became a South Park meme of him apologizing. However, when he got to court, all that apologizing meant nothing as he pled not guilty, not sorry for what he has done to millions of investors. So you can look through here. They scheduled out the actual court case. That is going to be, I believe, for October. It said so right in here. Yes,
Yeah,
October 2nd for the
Wolf. Why
trial.
do I have to? Why do I have to wait 9 months, 10 months?
This is legal procedure, and I believe that they're waiting as well for John Ray, who is that new CEO that took over the company, to have ample time to dig through the mess that FTX left over, so that when it comes time for a criminal procedure, they do not have to sit there waiting during the court case. Rather, they can have all the facts at hand.
Yeah, well, good thing for him. John Jay is making a lot of money hourly as well. So good year for him, I'm sure. Sure, a
Yeah,
lot of work. And then yeah,
not too shabby.
and then one more story that I'll quickly want to cover on this Tuesday was Shopify. It's towards the bottom of there, but they are cutting down on the number of
Right.
meetings at the company. This is something we've heard from a couple other places, but Shopify is removing all recurring meetings with 3+ people. They are saying no meetings can happen on Wednesdays at all. And they're saying big meetings of more than 50 people can happen in a small 6 hour window on Thursdays with a limit of one per week. I think this is an interesting strategy. We'll see how it works out going forward, and just something that overall be watching. It was definitely intriguing for me. I haven't seen too many companies full on, implement something like this. I've seen a couple Elon type companies talk about it, but yeah, very fascinating for me.
Yeah, as their survey said, they're looking to save $100 million per year. I wasn't sure if that was just with regards to Shopify. It sounded like the data might have been for companies in general, but yeah, here we go. Reluctantly go into non-critical meetings wastes around $100 million a year at big organizations. So Shopify looking to save some money here. All right, let's run through a couple more here. Going into Wednesday, what was the top story for you?
Biggest one by far, Amazon coming out, it being reported that they are now planning to fire 18,000 workers. It was originally reported that they were going to fire 10,000 workers. The majority of them are going to be concentrating in the corporate ranks. Mostly it's retail and human resources divisions like recruiting. So they're not going to be hiring as many new people. But the big news here is that we had heard that they were going to be looking to fire around 10,000 people, and now it's up to 18,000. You actually did mention this on the tweet, Wolf, of like what percentage of their workforce is that? It's right around 1%. So not a crazy number when you're looking at percentage of workforce, but 18,000 is definitely a lot of people.
Yeah, I was pretty blown away when I took a look at how many people Amazon employs, and really how many more people they employ than they did 3 to 4 years ago is kind of nuts. I think when you take a look at the numbers, you say, 18,000 people, that's a lot of people getting cut. But when you take a deeper dive into how many people Amazon has hired over the last 3 years, it does make sense. They just went on an absolute hiring spree. There's so many people there that probably do not need to be there anymore. And with a contracting economy, recession, everything along those lines, they're going to have to probably make more cuts along these lines. The other story just following up on that Sam Bankman-Fried one was them seizing the shares of Robinhood. I think this is interesting, just how it affects Robinhood stock. Robinhood stock was starting to gain some momentum before this whole FTX debacle came about, and now they are down in the dumps. I think trading around $8. per share. So this is obviously not great news for them. We'll see what ends up happening there. And then the other very funny story, which ended up coming in here, was this: Tesla files new trademark to make electric motors for airplanes, boats, and more. I believe that this was slightly debunked, as you can see, the Tesla fan filed for it
Oh
without
wow.
their knowledge. Did you see that? Did you see that?
No, I did not. Or
Yes.
else I wouldn't even look at that.
Tesla
Wolf
did
coming
not.
and debunking it.
Yes, Tesla did not actually file the trademark. It was unbeknownst to them. A Tesla fan filed it for Tesla. So pretty funny to see that coming out. It was not with the company's knowledge, and we'll see what ends up happening with it. But apparently, they filed it on behalf of Tesla, so Tesla may end up owning those patents. We'll see what ends up happening. I just thought that was a pretty
Wow.
funny story.
Nah, Wolf, I did not even know that. That is incredible. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. All right, let's roll into Thursday. We good to go to Thursday?
Yep, for sure. So the biggest story on Thursday was again around Tesla, them cutting the price of their Model 3 and Model Y in China. You could see the price and everything there. But we've definitely talked a lot of Tesla here, so I'm gonna maybe swiftly move on past that one. They also did get announced that day that they shipped 55.796 thousand vehicles. I was gonna say 55.7K, but I kind of it's 55.8K. Swiftly moving on. But that was below expectations. The previous month they were over 100K. So that was the day that the stock moved down 8% and then swiftly turned back up to green. So that was pretty fascinating. But for me, you mentioned Disney a little bit earlier, and I thought this was pretty fascinating. There was two Disney stories from here. One's at the top and one's at the bottom. But Disney's Avatar 2 officially passed Top Gun Maverick as the biggest film of 2022. I believe it passed $1.5 billion in box office sales. So I think that is pretty fascinating in there. And then a little bit towards the bottom of your screen, also on Disney. Disney ended 2022 with box office sales of $2 billion in North America, $2.9 billion overseas, giving it $4.9 billion worldwide, making it the number one studio domestic, international, and global box office for the seventh year in a row. So Disney is definitely killing it at the box office. Safe to say that. Yeah, that's definitely the interesting story for me. I also think OpenAI is in talks for a tender offer at a $28 billion valuation. That is pretty wild. Are there any stories on here that really stand out to you?
Yeah, thank you for that correction from earlier. That big drawdown day that ended up coming back was a Tesla China price cuts, not the deliveries. The deliveries was what caused them to be down about 7% on the week. This day they did end up coming back to green. And then, as you mentioned there, OpenAI getting that massive bump in valuation, as well as Disney coming out strong and setting the pace, I think, for streaming going into 2023. So those are the stories that all stood out to me as well. Nothing else too crazy coming in on Thursday. We can go right into, actually, the one other thing was that Walmart did announce that they not only had completed those 6,000 deliveries using drones, but that they were now actively delivering, I believe, in 6 or 7 states
Yeah.
as well. That was a story that was out there and pretty cool to hear, because I can, I want to get my stuff faster. And if a drone's going to make that happen, then we're good to go. And we'll see what happens with technology as it continues to
Yeah,
develop and get smarter.
there is a weight limit, but they were saying the deliveries happen in under 30 minutes. So it is pretty fascinating. And once they're in New York, I'll get a delivery and film it. It will be a good
Nice.
video.
All right, what's
Uh,
happening on Friday?
there was a couple stuff on Friday. McDonald's came out and said they're going to make a couple difficult decisions about changes to their corporate staffing levels by April. They said that they're also going to be accelerating stores. But for me, I don't know if Friday was just a day where we get weird stories, but the second one up here, this Wells Fargo story, I don't think we can go too far without reading it. They reportedly fired their VP of operations in India for allegedly urinating on a woman on a recent Air India flight. I
We
don't know
should
how many times that one is going to happen,
we
but
should we should do a quick cut here to my comment, which is actually still going a little bit viral. I don't know if anybody saw this, but there was that story that came out, like you mentioned, about the VP, and this was actually yesterday, so I just have to scroll back a little bit to find it, but shouldn't be too far back. All right, right here. I don't know if you saw this. Wells Fargo VP Shankar Mishra fired passengers. Hit him with
that's
the
funny.
VP. Pretty good, pretty good. Thank you.
That's hilarious. That's really good, actually.
Not bad. 20,714 likes. Looking pretty good. I saw some big C-suite execs at financial institutions liking that tweet. So everybody's getting in on the fun.
Yeah, that was a wild story I did not expect to see, and that was a great comment. That was funny.
Love it. Yeah, the other big thing that really was moving markets was that US unemployment rate coming in below expectations. It feels like every time we get data now, the question is, will the Fed pivot? The answer is no. But seeing unemployment data coming in below expectations certainly does not push the Fed to pivot faster.
I won't get us too quickly or too far off track here. If you go up to, where is it? At some point this week during the Fed minutes, they basically said we are not going to raise rates. In Wednesday, the fifth story on here,
Raise or cut?
Officials agreed rate cuts should not happen in 2023.
Rate
Did I say
cut
raise?
happen. Yeah,
Yeah, rate cuts. Oops. We're 16 minutes into video. I'm not used to talking this long. But yet on Friday, one or two other stories really did stand out to me. I thought this Google CEO, Sundar Pichai, he received 1.33 million shares of Google stock at an average price of $0 per share. 657,000 of those shares were withheld for taxes, but
It's like
he
free
just
money hack.
bagged free money hack. How do you do it? Become CEO of Google, make stock go up a lot, and a couple years later, you might do something. So he's definitely earned that, obviously, and yeah. But I
So
thought that one was pretty interesting. Yeah.
that's over $100 million that he was able to cash in on there, right? I
Let's check
guess
after
about two-thirds.
taxes.
Yeah, two-thirds were held with taxes. So I mean, it was still over $30 million, I think.
Yeah,
Like that
yeah.
he.
No, I'm seeing he might have brought in just like $60 million or something
Yeah,
like that
yeah, that might make sense.
after
Uh,
taxes. So 2023 is off to a good start for Sundar Pichai. Safe to say.
yeah, I saw this cannabis sales thing. We saw that just go live in New York for legal cannabis sales about a week or two ago. Now Illinois reporting record high of $1.5 billion in 2022. So see if other states are getting a similar bump. And then we all a little bit of Jack Ma news, relinquishing control of the company. Probably not at his own desire. Jack Ma has been bullied around by the CCP for a little while now. So the latest in a number of incidents there. And then following up on our ChatGPT stories, how are schools going to ban this? Are students just going to be writing their essays using ChatGPT? Um, in fact,
100%.
in fact, my dad's actually a writer. He's an editor and a writer, and he said he's already been recommended this, and he's already been using it to help him write blogs because people pay him to write blog posts and all different types of stuff. It's like really, this is a game changer for people in that writing area. So it's an interesting one to see.
They're
Oh,
just gonna try and block. They're just gonna block it in the schools, right? They can't actually be like that
yeah,
was written by
they can only
ChatGPT at
block it in
home.
schools. They can't block it at home. They can tell the kids they're going to try to block it at home, but it's not going to work. They can tell the parents, make sure kid doesn't use this, that kind of stuff, things along those lines. But I think the story that we have to end up on here is this one. This feels like the good finale.
I don't know. Maybe we have to go 15 more rounds and then we can end on it.
Yeah, I mean, who knows how long this could go? Historical precedent says it could go a lot farther than it has gone
Wait,
already. But yeah, McCarthy's getting closer. He's flipped several key votes. Still
wait,
doesn't have the
Wolf,
votes he needs. Yeah.
read it again. He won it last night.
Oh, he got elected?
Yeah, 15th. 15
It
times the
said
charms.
that he didn't win the 15th time, even though he flipped a few of the key votes.
No, he got it. He did. That was the
Oh,
14th time, and then last night around 10
but
o'clock, they came back, started voting, and I saw after
yeah,
midnight that he was elected.
that's my guess. Is it was late on a Friday night. You're in your 15th round, and you've got Kevin McCarthy yelling at Matt Gaetz in front of the whole Senate, and eventually it just gets there. It just gets to the point. I don't know if you saw this. Matt Gaetz. Do you see how he lost on the 14th?
No.
He lost on the 14th because Matt Gaetz was the only vote that he needed. And Matt Gaetz instead voted present and didn't vote for anyone else, didn't vote for anyone. And so McCarthy lost in the 14th.
Okay, so I did see people talking about that. And I didn't really know what that meant. So
And then Gosar, I think, eventually flipped, which maybe happened. What was this? It was basically Oh, I can't hear it, but yeah, McCarthy went up and was like yelling at him after that. But yeah, like you said, looks like he ended up, I guess, winning it in the 15th. I actually haven't seen that anywhere. Huh. All right, let's not delve too much upon this. Let's kind of keep going down through here. We've got a little bit of an economic calendar for next week. Nothing too crazy coming in on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but the big story is on Thursday, right?
Yep, CPI. Everyone has been so focused on inflation, and I don't think that's going to stop just because it's 2023. You can see the median forecast right there for CPI year over year. What does that say? 6.6?
Yep.
6.6 down from the previous of 7.1%. So that is the bar. I know we'll be live on Spaces, but yeah, CPI Thursday morning, 8:30 a.m. Eastern. That's definitely the biggest macro event of the week.
Nice. Yeah, that is one that I'm looking at. We'll be live on Spaces, like you said, and then we'll be live for the open to trade off of it. CPI always gives the market something to think about. And then we have some UMISH consumer data coming in at 10 a.m. on Friday. And then, another light week of earnings. I think earnings start up again in a couple
But
more
you
weeks.
what I will say though, if you can zoom in on that Friday a little bit, I don't know if it's possible. I know it's a little bit small. This is the start of earnings season.
Like,
Bank earnings are back. On Friday, we have Bank of America, United Health, JP Morgan, Delta, Citi, Wells Fargo, BlackRock, BNY Mellon. So a lot of names. I guess the link just doesn't work on this one. Maybe I got to fix that. But yeah, a lot of names reporting earnings on Friday. This is generally the start of it. That means I feel like the week after this, we're going to have more banky type companies going. The week after that, we'll have the start of tech. And then the week after that, we'll go big tech, bigger tech. So that is how earnings season is really starting up, and we're really in this. Oh, this is the calendar.
yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
you can kind of see what we're talking about.
It is really next week. So like you were saying, yeah, BlackRock, Delta, Bank of America, Citi, and all them, and then you get the back to back with Goldman Sachs coming in on that Tuesday, and Morgan Stanley and Citizens and all them interactive brokers, and then it really heats up that 19th, starting with Netflix, PG, and some of those, and then the bigger weeks. We're not getting the biggest weeks, I would say, in January. Those are going to come in February. But yeah, definitely you get Tesla here, ASML, you get Southwest and some of these others, WM. So there's some stuff to definitely keep a lookout for as we go into the latter portion of January. Awesome.
100%. Yeah, and I do just want to give one shout out at the end of this video. If you are still here 23 minutes or so later, you are a true fan. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to both my YouTube channel, Wolf Financial's YouTube channel. We are turning this into a little bit of a weekly series here. So if you want this live recaps every single week, well, not live recaps. I'm too used to the spaces, but yeah, we're doing this every single week. Like the video, subscribe, make sure you're engaging with what we're doing on Twitter and Instagram and everything like that. And we really appreciate you for joining in. Wolf, anything you want to leave people with?
I think you hit the nail on the head. These recaps hopefully are helpful to everybody. To be honest, as I even read through this wonderful newsletter that Evan puts together, I find stories that I did not see during the week or that I get some clarity on. So they're really helpful. And the best part is the stock market operates both off of future expectations, but of course off of historical precedents and things that have happened. And the more you know, the better equipped you are to go out and trade, invest, both for the short and the long term, in my opinion. So appreciate y'all that took the time to watch through, like Evan said, this 24-minute video. If you have anything that you want to see in future videos, feel free to comment it below and definitely be following both of the channels. And that's going to do it for today. We're signing off here. Anything else you'd like to say, Evan?
Nope. Appreciate it.
All right, everybody. Take care. We'll see you in the next one.